The Nigerian House of Representatives have announced it will hold the National Summit on Education Reform.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is in Nigeria.
Nigerian Minister of Information and Culture, Mohammed, says tourism is an important sector of the economy as it has the potential to boost trade, hospitality and transportation. Well, hello and welcome to the 1 p.m. English News on Golfe TV Africa. I'm Metohuey ADOGLO with my colleague
Hazel. OGOIGBE. Very beautiful afternoon to you, Metohuey ADOGLO.
Let's get started. Now, let's start. Minister of Information and Culture, Mohammed, says tourism is an important sector of the economy as it has the potential to boost trade, hospitality, transportation, as well as agriculture, among others. The minister made this known as the ongoing United Nations World Tourism Organization Conference at the National Theatre, Lagos. To this effect, the Nigerian Minister of Culture has called for synergy between tourism, culture, and the creative industry to enhance global inclusive development as this will bridge the gap in solving various challenges in the world. Now, let's find out what challenges he's referring to.
One of the largest and fastest growing economic sectors in the world, tourism has recorded a significant growth for decades and accounts for 7% of global trade prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. To further harness the potentials of the sector, the United Nations World Tourism Organization has decided to organize a global conference on linking tourism, culture, and the creative industry.
The question really, or the issue is, how do we balance the environment on the one hand with the necessity of traveling? That is why one of the most important objectives of the UNWTO is actually to encourage and promote sustainable and responsible tourism.
Climate change is one factor that significantly impacts the growth of tourism in different parts of the world. Speaking further on the relationship between tourism and climate, peace, culture, as well as empowerment, the Minister of Information and Culture, Mohammed, advocates a balance between tackling climate crises and enhancing global tourism.
Tourism breaks down barriers. It breaks down differences. It makes people understand, other people, and that would breed peace. And then the tools of tourism, such as music, such as films, allows you also to learn more about the people, their ways of lives. You respect them, and that way you are going to find, a lot of, peace. We're here today to let the world know that the next oil for Nigeria is actually in tourism and creative sector. And I'm glad that you're all here today because we need to inculcate this into you so that you grow up trying to, understanding that there's a future in the creative industry.
The minister called for collaborations from private and public sectors to advance the cause of tourism. According to him, this will break barriers among various people and further promote global peace. On his part, the Director General of the organization assured of collaborations with nations to promote tourism in the world. He says implementation of effective policies and mechanisms will better link tourism to culture and the creative industries, which ripple effect will create wealth for nations.
We want and we are here again to promote and to support new projects you have here in country, but to make them successful and successful worldwide. So it's very important, this kind of skills, this kind of knowledge. And again, we are going back to education. These projects need to be pitched, to be supported, to be internationalized, and that's why we are here, and we will continue the series to support youth and startups from Nigeria.
Organizers thereafter charged the participants to seize the opportunity of the conference to discover actual and potential investment opportunities as well as human capacity development, in addition to sharing best practices on how to move the sectors forward. Abisola Adebayo, TV 360 News.
The Nigerian House of Representatives has announced it will hold the National Summit on an Educational Reform between the 22nd and the 23rd of November 2022. Now, the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, announced this on the floor of the Green Chamber on Monday while addressing his colleagues who resumed from a 6-week break. The House Speaker said scholars of tertiary institutions, educational administrators, and local and international stakeholders have been invited to submit papers on the theme of the summit. He added that the presentations and submissions will inform the policy recommendations of the summit, which will be published in the Journal for Policy, Action and Academic Reference. Now let's have the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, as he adds more in the following extract.
The House continues to work to meet our legislative agenda commitments across all other priority areas. As part of that effort, the House will convene a national summit on tertiary education reform on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 22nd and the 23rd of November 2022. The summit is an opportunity to begin the long overdue national conversation about the future of public tertiary education in Nigeria. Scholars, tertiary education administrators, and local and international stakeholders have been invited to submit papers on the theme of the summit, which is reimagining tertiary education in Nigeria. The most consequential decisions we make in government are those that will ensure the vast population of young people in our country are educated and adequately equipped to participate productively in the modern global economy. To achieve this, we must ask and answer complex questions about the operating structure of our public tertiary institutions, sustainable funding, education quality, and access. I urge all members of the House to participate in this crucial national conversation so that our experience, expertise, and concerns inform the policy recommendations that emerge from the summit.
Also on politics in Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party has said that it has every option to challenge the candidacy of the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, including the eligibility to contest the 2023 general elections, having been allegedly indicted and subjected to criminal forfeiture judgment for a narcotic-related offense by a United States court in northern Illinois, Chicago.
The People's Democratic Party has said that it has every option to challenge the candidacy of the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, including his eligibility to contest the 2023 general elections, having been allegedly indicted and subjected to criminal forfeiture judgment for a narcotic-related offense by a United States court in northern Illinois, Chicago. This was made known by the Publicity Secretary of the party, Debo Olugunagba, at a press conference held at the party secretariat on Sunday in Abuja. Olugunagba stated that the APC presidential candidate is ineligible to contest the February 2023 presidential elections, having been reportedly indicted and subjected to criminal forfeiture judgment for a narcotic-related offense by the United States court in northern Illinois. Nigerians are, however, appalled by the lame attempt by the APC presidential campaign, which, after admitting that there was a $46,000 drug money criminal forfeiture judgment against accounts traced to the APC presidential candidate, is now desperately trying to pull a wool over the eyes of the Nigerian people and our democratic institutions. The spokesperson added that by the provision of Section 137, subsection 1, Section D of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, Asiwaju Tinubu is not eligible to contest the presidential election in Nigeria. He noted for emphasis, the U.S. court ordered that the funds in the amount of $460,000 in account 263226700 held by First Heritage Bank in the name of Bola Tinubu represent proceeds of narcotic trafficking or were involved in financial transactions in violation 18 U.S.C. S. 1956. However, the APC Presidential Campaign Council has fingered the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party as responsible for the sponsorship of fake news against Tinubu in a bid to disqualify him. In a statement on Sunday, the Director of Media and Publicity of the PCC, Bayo Onanuga, called on the police to investigate the circulation of the forged INEC statement and serve justice to those responsible. He said, the opposition People's Democratic Party and its subsidiary Labour Party haven't realized they have no sure path to victory in February 2023 presidential elections, upped their campaign of calumny, disinformation and misinformation on Saturday by sponsoring fake news against the APC presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They did this by forging the letterhead of the Independent National Electoral Commission and the signatures of National Commissioner Festus Okoye. The first statement purportedly issued by INEC was disseminated to deceive the gullible public that INEC was investigating allegations against Asiwaju Tinubu that they desperately hoped will ultimately lead to the disqualification of the frontline APC presidential candidate.
Now, with still the ongoing economic crisis in Ghana, we spoke with Winfred Menohuey, our correspondent, who's currently in Ghana, now Accra, to talk about the termination appointment of the Ghanaian finance minister at the office of the president. Now, the finance minister the president has come under massive pressure to sack the finance minister after the plunge of the cedis. And so more stories have come out on that and more controversies. And so there's the possibility that he will be sacked very soon. We spoke with Winfred Samoa and he had this to say.
Samoa speaking to the topic of the termination appointment of the Ghanaian finance minister at the office of the president. Hello, Winfred. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Metohuey, ADOGLO, and glad for having me on Golfe TV Africa.
Now, we're just going to get into this real quick. Now, which wind is blowing in Ghana and the Ghanaian Ministry of Finance right now?
Okay, I would like to say a good morning to the viewers of Golfe TV Africa. And Meto, actually, currently in the Republic of Ghana, things are not going the way Ghanaians are expecting, and precisely in the Ministry of Finance. You can remember that some few weeks ago, the Ghanaians poured out on the streets of Accra to demonstrate, to decry the economic situation of the country. And in the course of that demonstration, they were calling for the resignation of the finance minister and the finance minister at the presidency, who is in person of Charles Edu-Boahim. So after that demonstration, Ghanaians were expecting something to happen, and from that particular moment till somewhere down this weekend, they had nothing from the president. And luckily, surprisingly for Ghanaians, within the weekend, there was a video that popped up on the social media, a video coming from the renowned Ghanaian investigative journalist Aris Arimayao Anas, who revealed that the finance minister at the office of the presidency was involved in a particular deal that is tarnishing the image of the country, thereby making the president of the republic, Nana Akufo-Addo, to terminate the appointment of this individual, the finance minister at the office of the president.
Now, why has it come to this? By that, I mean the termination of the appointment of Charles Edu-Boahim.
Okay, the thing is, Anas Arimayao Anas, with his team, the Tiger Eye Pie, conducted an investigation in 2018. And the investigation that was conducted in the video took place in the United Arab Emirates in a hotel. And in this hotel, Charles Edu-Boahim, the finance minister at the office of the presidency, was seen in this video discussing with a to-be investor in Ghana. So in the course of the discussion, the investor was asking how can he have access to the big men in Ghana for him to be able to set up his business. So this minister told him that for him to be able to have his ground, he has to get in touch with the vice president of the country, who is Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia. And according to the finance minister at the office of the presidency, for him to be able to have access to the vice president, he has to pay some amount of money, which is how much? $200,000. And after the payment of this amount, for him to be able to have things done easily, when the investor sets up his company, he should be able to find a room by employing some relatives of the vice president in his company. So if the investor does this thing, he'll be able to set up his company in the country easily. So this video that came up triggered things in the NPP government, making Nana Akufo-Addo, the president of Ghana, who was at that time was in Egypt for the COP meeting, called on his head of communication to draft a letter of resignation for the finance minister at the office of the presidency, that is Charles Edouard. That is why that led to his termination of appointment.
Now, the name of the vice president was cited in the expose. What is his reaction? What has his reaction been so far?
Yeah, when the video popped up on social media, it got to the notice of the vice president. And immediately the vice president heard of this. The vice president came up with a write-up to clear his name. So I'll read out what the vice president wrote. The vice president said, "My attention has been drawn to a video by Anas Arimaya Anas, as posted in his social media handle, showing the Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Charles Edouard, apparently using my name inter alia to peddle influence and collect money from supposed investors. I would like to state that if what the minister is alleged to have said is accurately captured in the video, then his position as a minister of state is untenable. It should be dismissed summarily and investigated. I am not aware of any such meeting held by Mr. Edouard or supposed appearance fee. My most cherished asset in life is my dignity, is my integrity, and I will not allow anyone to use my name to engage in corrupt activities." So that is the stand of the vice president. The vice president came out clearly to say that he knows nothing about what was shown in the video. So according to the vice president, he has nothing to do with that. And another interesting information from the side of the vice president is that his economic advisor, who is also his spokesperson in name of Dr. Gideon Buaku, this year 2022, he was contacted by the ANAS team to ask if an investor wants to invest in Ghana and wants to meet the president. Wants to meet the vice president. Is that individual supposed to pay some fees to the vice president? And according to the spokesperson of the vice president, he said to the best of his knowledge and the kind of person he knows the vice president to be, the vice president does not require anything. So this, according to this speech coming from the spokesperson of the vice president, also indicates that there is a high probability that the vice president knows nothing about what the sacked Minister of Finance at the presidency spoke about in the video.
Wow. Now, how does this work? And how does the work of the investigative journalist Anas paint Ghana before the foreign investors?
Actually, you know, the role of Charles Edouard is to also see to it that investors pour into Ghana. So him having that role, and now for him to pave way for foreign investors to come into the country, they have to pay this sum of amount to the vice president. Another interesting thing that I didn't make known to you is that he also raised that the investigative team asked if they want to invest $500 million in Ghana, what will he take, since he's the one helping them to meet the vice president? What will he take? So he said if they're going to invest any amount they want to invest, or in this case $500 million, his share is 20%. And he says he doesn't take cash, and he's a kind of man, he takes money that he works for. So if they want to invest that amount in Ghana and he's going to take 20% of the $500 million, that means he'll advise them to come and invest in his real estate company, let's say, according to you, let's say $15 million. So if they invest $15 million in his real estate business, it's going to take 20% of that $15 million. So that is a share of the any amount that will be invested in the company. So coming back to the question you asked, so this attitude of Charles Edu Boahin has painted the image of Ghana in terms of doing business very bad, thereby undermining investor confidence in Ghana. This will prevent future investors from pouring into Ghana to invest, and even those who are already on the ground will be contemplating asking themselves if really where they are investing is a good ground for them to invest.
Now, what is the reaction of Ghanaians towards the revelation of the Tiger Eye pie?
Yeah, Ghanaians have for long been calling for the sack of this minister and his boss, the finance minister, who is in person of Ken Ofori-Atta. But the thing is, they were expecting the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, to sack them on the ground that they were involved in certain things that Ghanaians feel as a state, as a minister, they shouldn't involve themselves into. So with this video of Anas that proper painting showing that the minister is involved in taking money from people for them to come and invest in their country, for them that's another story. But the main target of this is that they should have been sacked because of the way they have mismanaged the economy.
Well, thank you, Winfred Menohuey, for your contribution. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Winfred and Samuel, for the update. And of course, thank you, Metohuey ADOGLO. So from this insight, what are your conclusions on the conversation you had with Mr. Samuel over there in Ghana?
Well, it's a precarious situation, still a precarious situation. The finance minister was caught, on tape, soliciting money for help. So you come in, you want to come in as an investor, you want to come into the country. You need to pay some backdoor fees before you as a stakeholder, as an investor, can be able to invest in the country. So before you can even reach out to the vice president or the president to meet them, you have to pay him. And he was caught on camera actually soliciting for bribery. And that was that went round all over Ghana.
So basically, do you think this is just an African challenge, or this is literally what happens in the world today, but it's just the fact that Ghanaian finance minister was caught on tape?
Yeah, well, it seems to be a phenomenon that runs deep through African countries. But then once you're not caught, you're not caught. If you're never a thief if you're not caught. So it's until you're caught that you're a thief. But every other person come and say, no, we don't do this. Because, for example, the vice president was included into the expose. Yeah. And he has come out, he sent a statement and said he has never done anything like this. He's never been included in it. He has no idea, has no knowledge of it. And of course, what do you expect him to say? But no, from what someone said that the vice president it seems to be an upright, standing man. He cares a lot about his image, his dignity,
his reputation.
So, and then with previous accounts that it's been proven that he's not one to go into stuff like that. But then, even if it's not him, it's someone else. This is the idea of lobbying. This is lobbying. People lobby, and people sometimes you need to, they call it grease their palms to help them.
Yeah, well, personally, as an individual, the challenge I feel is really one of the downside effects of lobbying is the fact that lobbying takes away meritocracy. Yeah. When you lobby, you remove the concept of the best at the job, the person that can deliver quality services, and then you now impute the concept of the person that the highest bidder. Because at the end of the day, you find out that, for example, you're bidding for a contract. Let's say Ghana is bidding for a contract, the person that's going to tar their major roads. Now, the person that comes and robs the palm with the highest amount of money might be an upcoming company that doesn't have the experience and the technical know-how.
Or a giant conglomerate.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, because they graze the palm, they give it to them, and then they do substandard projects.
But, I think this thing is like talking about Africa. This thing is it's an African thing,
and it's really
terrible and painful. You want to collect your certificate, you have to lobby. You want to go do something, you have to lobby. You cannot trust the concept of due process. You just have to grease someone's palm.
And this is how nepotism is all about.
Exactly.
So it spreads very quickly. You give it to your. Also, the Ghanaian finance minister also talked about if the company is coming in, they have to give jobs to his uncle, his brothers. His
wow. So now it has to be your family members first.
So this is nepotism.
That's how wealth just circulates around the. The rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer.
Recently, in the Republic of Benin, in Cotonou here, we had an awards that was like vote for journalists, vote for the best journalists. And I heard about the award. I was like, okay, what's this award about? I thought, okay, the most votes. I'm like, okay, if it's the most votes and you're paying for the votes, then it's not. There's no merit.
There's no meritocracy.
It's only going to be. It's a popularity contest.
Exactly.
So the most popular journalist might not be the best journalist.
Very
you might
true.
have a very young journalist that's really good. So if we're always going to go by popularity, then the unknowns will never be known.
That's the truth.
And then the ones that are popular will just keep getting popular. So it's not based on merits, but based on who can grease your palms or based on who is the most popular.
But above all, at the end of the day, I think one of the most vital take-homes should just be that he should not just be exposed, but he should be persecuted. Because a whole lot of times on the African scene, when leaders are caught doing things that are actually wrong, you just find out that it just blows away like the wind. And then the dust just settles and it's like it never even happened.
We have so much examples. We have currently, I'm very disappointed to say this and to see this. Atiku's spokesperson, Dino Melaye. Can you imagine Dino Melaye being the spokesperson of the PDP party? It's hilarious.
That's politics for you.
Exactly. So Dino, that has been caught red-handed, and a lot of trials, he goes and pretends to be dead, to be sleeping, to be sick. So this is what they ANC, Jacob Zuma, he got out of jail early because what? Health challenges. How do you go around this?
And then there are subtle, there are subtle dealings that he still might want to come for the forthcoming elections. And you're like, at the end of the day, you were in prison for charges of corruption. You pleaded sick. So mentally, rather physically, health-wise, you're not fit. When it comes to your dossier, as the French would say, you don't qualify. So then what now gives you the boldness to just expect us to forget everything and then you now want to come out and become the next president of South Africa?
It is the hypocrisy. It's a huge, and another huge hypocrisy is how you stole 100,000 CFA. Oh no, sorry, you stole 10,000 francs CFA. They'll put a towel over your head and burn you. You stole 1 billion francs CFA.
It's like
they would just guide you in air-conditioned office.
Your prison vehicle. Would even be different if at all you go to prison.
Do you want some champagne, sir? So yeah, you stole 10,000 CFA. They burn you. You stole 1 billion francs CFA. It's a VIP treatment.
VIP treatment.
So
at the end of the day, you just find out that the concept of equality before the law is not really practicable. You find out that some fingers are more equal than the others.
Hypocrisy through and through.
All right, now back to the news. Thank you so much, Metohuey ADOGLO. All right, moving to the African scene. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is in Nigeria. Now, during his visit, he has a scheduled meeting with the President of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. More information in the following commentary.
The 9th United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is in Nigeria. He is meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari today here at the presidential villa. Ahead of that meeting, Mr. Guterres has been visiting internally displaced persons in Borno State, northeast Nigeria, which has been badly affected by years of insurgency. This is something that is very dear to Mr. Guterres. For 10 years, he was the head of the United Nations Refugee Agency, so he understands the plight of refugees and how to try to help them. And that is exactly what Mr. Guterres has promised the people and government of Borno State: international help. Ahead of the meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, Mr. Guterres has also been laying a wreath at the UN building here, which was attacked by terrorists in 2011. It is in honor of the victims that lost their lives. Well, Mr. Guterres is also expected to meet with Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, religious leaders, women and youth leaders, members of the diplomatic community, as well as the private sector. Let me just add that while in town in Borno yesterday, there was an attack on Chibok community. It is unclear if this was coincidence or deliberate, as the UN chief was in town, but we expect that terrorism will top the agenda when he meets with President Muhammadu Buhari today. Other wide-ranging issues, including the effects of climate change, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the invasion of Ukraine by Russia on the African economy, would be discussed. Mr. Guterres has been making a case on this tour of 3 African nations that as terrorist attacks continue in Sahel countries and move towards the Gulf state, this is no longer an African or regional crisis, but a global threat. From the presidential villa here in Abuja,
Well, still on the 1 p.m. English news on Golfe TV Africa. For more stories across the continent, we head into the African newspaper review. The African newspaper review on Golfe TV Africa. Now, we're going to be touching on all the very special papers on the continent. We start off with papers coming in from The Punch. As usual, we go to Nigeria straight because a lot of interesting stories are coming in from Nigeria. Now, let's say, talking about the VP, and you know the elections for 2023 are still on the way in Nigeria. Now it says VIPs are hit plateau with 30 private charter jets. Now we're talking about climate change, and when the hypocrisy of it is that the fact that a lot of politicians have come out to denounce climate change, but yet they're still flying their private jets all around the world. Now this is what we have on the first hand of the paper: climate change, but yet we have 30 private jet chartered in jets. Now Tinubu promises to neutralize terrorists, criminals, and assure supporters. Now no election, no winner. This is what we have here on page 4, and President gives Tinubu's flag on the day. Muhammad Buhari has come out to say he believes believes Tinubu has a very high chance of winning the election. Also, Ngige, ASU response to Ngige's comments are responsible for half pay. This is what the lecturers have said. The lecturers have come out to say Ngige is responsible for the half payments made to lecturers, despite the lecturers resuming after such a long time suspended on strike. Now let's take a look at some of the other papers coming in from The Punch. Nigeria also talks about 4 shops. Also talks about 4 shops affected in Kano Market in Inferno, or 4 depot explodes in Southern Russia. Anti-OB comment, Soludo not politically sound, says OGOIGBE. NASA launches most powerful moon rocket. Center YouTube announces grant to support African creator. Now this is some important, beautiful stories right there coming in from The Punch. Now moving on from The Punch, Nigeria, we head to some other papers as we touch on. Let's go to the Sports Extra, still on The Punch. Now, you know I love my sports, and I'm very, very passionate about sports. So we're going to look at this. Now, it says 4 days to Qatar. We have Qatar. The Qatar World Cup is coming in 4 days' time. So by Sunday, we're going to be having a competition kicking in. Now, let's say we have a couple of stories on that particular showpiece tournament coming in. We have the United States of America playing the Wales. We have a lot of games coming in very, very rapid, very quick. A lot of games coming very quick, very rapid, and we're going to try and bring like a lot of stories coming to you from there. Now, yeah, we have the United States. We have the United States playing the Wales on the Monday, 21st 11 at 8 o'clock. We also have Argentina. Argentina is going to be playing versus Saudi Arabia on the 11th, 22. Also, we have Group D, Denmark versus Tunisia. That's also going to be played on Tuesday at 2 p.m. All these are matches that will be coming real quick and fast as the World Cup kicks off. Now, let's take a look at some of the African nations and some of the games that the African nations will play. We have Cameroon playing versus Switzerland. We have Cameroon, Switzerland. We have Portugal, Ghana. that is going to be coming in fast as well. Portugal, Ghana, Cameroon, Switzerland. Moving in still, we have more games coming in very fast. I did say the games will be coming in very, very fast. We have Senegal versus Qatar. Now, the problem with Senegal, Qatar is the fact that Sadio Mane is unavailable for the time being, but he hasn't selected all the same to come into the competition and play because they believe he will get better. They believe in magic. They say they would use even witch doctors to get him to play at that particular match because they believe so much in their captain. Still, we have some more. We have Tunisia. Tunisia is still going to be playing. Tunisia is going to be playing Austria in that particular game. Now, let's go on to more papers. We are also going to be talking about Battered, Bashed, and Bruised. This is those last style bender. He lost his game versus Pereira, losing a lot of money in that particular fight. Very sad story there. But, you know, he's a Nigerian. He's going to get back to his feet. He's going to get back to his best. And we believe in Israel Adesanya, the last style bender. Also, we have Anthony Joshua, who's looking to come back and get his title. You know, he lost to Klitschko, and that was very, very sad match right there. A lot of Nigerians were supporting Joshua in that particular bout, but then last he did not get that win that he craved, and he's lost his belt. All right, so what else do we have for you? We talked about fans hit out to Osimhen for the friendly versus Portugal, as he did not feature in the particular game. Also, Pereira has full squad, full Portugal friendly, and Roma willing to sell Abraham. Abraham is also of Nigerian heritage, but also plays for the United Kingdom. He's a United Kingdom. Right now is an England international, but he has very strong roots in Nigeria. All right, now let's move on from that. We had some more papers. We have some more papers for you. Moving on from that, we head now to Ghana. We pick out, first off, Star from Kenya. Now, MP's plot Qatar trip to watch the World Cup. Now, of course, everybody wants to be there at that massive showpiece. The World Cup is the game that every single country in the world is going to be featuring. I mean, almost about 40 nations will be featuring in that particular game. So, yeah, even the Kenyans, political masterclass also want to feature in that particular game. You see, we have that there. MP's plot Qatar trip to watch the World Cup. Is that the most important thing right now for them to do? You know, there's so much to do. That's a lot of money that we're spending on moving on to that World Cup game. There's a lot of money. It's not play. Also, moving on from that, yet another building collapsed and several people have feared to be trapped in these buildings. We have that on page 8 and 4. That's right there. That's top page. We can see the building right there. Collapsed. Very tragic side of it. Why are buildings collapsing in Africa? That is the question. Are they not being well built? Why will buildings continue collapsing? This is a problem that has gone on for so long, and I feel they must find a steady remedy to help move on from the loss of human lives. Well, this is all we have for you as our time has sadly come to an end. It's all we have for you on the African Newspaper Review on Golfe TV Africa. I'm Metohuey ADOGLO, and over to you, Hazel.
Thank you so much, Metohuey ADOGLO, for the newspaper review. And of course, still continue with the news. This story talks about Jumoke Dada, a young lady, multi-dollar furniture manufacturing brand owner, tailor, and she designs for the average Nigerian using local resources like Ankara and Ashoke to make unique pieces. More information on the following report from our partners.
We launched this particular table called a Makishi table. It was 29K, then it was really super affordable. And, you know, from there, a lot of young people started tweeting about it. Oh, have you seen this new brand? You know, like the IKEA of Africa. This is not IKEA, this is Ikeja. Let me take you to our space at Taylor.
Lagos is known as one of the world's fastest growing cities and urban areas. From here, the revolution to change the African lifestyle expands. And she is the one who started it all, Jumoke Dada, who runs Nigeria's biggest and billion-dollar-worthy furniture company.
There are like 4 main sections here at Taylor. We have woodwork, welding, upholstery, and spraying. Initially, when I was like starting Taylor as a brand, most of the furniture brands I see around have that Italian feel or this bulky Chinese feel. There were no brands, doing things like incorporating local materials like tie and dye, adire, ashoke, and Ankara. The reason why I'm doing this is I really want every single African to own a Taylor piece and be so proud that, this is made locally by my own people. Yeah, I don't feel like I've done something I'm satisfied till a customer says, oh, this is made in Nigeria, this is similar to what I would get from Europe or from the US. So these are like some of the sofas that's been done. Sofa like Kemi, Siwa beanbag, furniture. The name comes from people that work at Taylor sometimes, even from some of our friends. It's just so that like people can see a part of themselves in those pieces. People that love the piece initially were majorly expatriates because this looks like it's Nigerian. And later on, like a lot of Nigerians started adopting it because it reminds them of Ashwebi and Owambe and all of those things.
For a country that's relied on international furniture purchases, young creative designers such as Jumoke have closed the gap by creatively designing pieces that are different yet affordable using locally sourced raw materials, bringing Nigeria center stage in this challenging and competitive market. Next time you sit on a chair, it might just be a Taylor furniture masterpiece. Even when Jumoke Dada goes out, she sees her success before her eyes.
I'm excited to be here at Danfo Bistro. I think it's one of my favorite places, so I enjoy coming here to, eat and have meetings. Right now, I'm here to have a meeting with one of my colleagues at work. It feels good to just come around and get to see the things that we get into at Taylor come to life and see how people interact with it. And I'm kind of really excited I get to interact with it too as well each time I come here.
I like some of the initiatives that were taken at Taylor. The most recent being the Pay with Flexi that we recently just launched, and you can see how that has caught fire and customers are really excited about it because it gives them the flexibility of owning Taylor pieces that they've always wanted to own and just conveniently spread the payment across a certain number of months or at their convenience. I'm also very excited about the AR/VR. I know that that's even going to be bigger for us because it just launches us into an entirely different landscape. You don't have to go to a brick and mortar. But from the comfort of your home, you can literally interact with our pieces and just generally have that experience. And yeah, it's definitely fun. It's fun working with Jumoke, fun working with you.
I don't see Taylor stopping in Nigeria. I see Taylor in East Africa. I see Taylor in South Africa. I see Taylor in Europe. I see Taylor in America. And I feel it's just a matter of time. Taylor will get to that point whereby the way you have Roche Bobois of France, IKEA is Swedish, then a brand from Africa, like Taylor would go ahead to become an internationally recognized brand.
To end this news edition, here's a recap of our top stories. The Nigerian House of Representatives has announced it will hold a national summit on an educational reform.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is in Nigeria.
We also saw that the Minister of Information, Culture, Lai Mohammed, says tourism is an important sector of the economy as it has the potential to boost trade, hospitality, and transformation.
Well, here's where we conclude the 1 p.m. English news on Golfe TV Africa. I'm Metohuey Michael ADOGLO.
And I'm Hazel OGOIGBE. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Golfe TV Africa, c'est toutes les voix, tous les points de vue, toutes les opinions, tous les avis et une vue d'ensemble de toute l'actualité au Bénin, en Afrique et dans le monde.
Le but de ma conférence, qui avait pour thème l'avancée scientifique de l'Afrique, c'était de montrer qu'on vous parle d'Einstein, on vous parle de Max Planck, mais aucun de ces gens n'a dépassé la science que vous avez dans le village, que le vieux a dans le village, que nos temples ont. Cette science-là, elle n'a jamais été dépassée. Et que tout ce que nous avons encore à faire connaître, vous voyez, comme ça sert des enjeux qui ne servent pas nos intérêts, c'est pour ça que la chose demeure cachée. Mais dans tous les domaines, vous voyez, il ne faut pas oublier que la graine de l'arbre de la science et de la connaissance, c'est l'Afrique qui l'a plantée. C'est l'Afrique qui l'a arrosée. C'est l'Afrique qui a fait qu'elle a porté tant de fruits. Inventer les mathématiques, l'astronomie, la médecine, le calendrier de 365 jours, la précision des équinoxes, les sciences que vous utilisez pour faire la caméra, l'informatique, les ordinateurs. Le nombre binaire informatique est né en Afrique. D'accord ? L'ordinateur, on le voit avec le Fa. Le Fa est basé sur les nombres binaires. Donc toute la culture africaine est fondamentalement scientifique. On nous éloigne de cette culture pour ne pas qu'on en fasse notre colonne vertébrale pour être debout. Sur le plan de la spiritualité, les pères de l'Église étaient tous africains. Alexandre d'Alexandrie, Alexandrie c'est en Afrique. Clément d'Alexandrie, Alexandrie c'est en Afrique. Origène d'Alexandrie, Alexandrie c'est en Afrique. Ce sont des Africains qui ont pris le savoir des temples pour donner à des gens qui n'avaient pas de tradition religieuse, une tradition religieuse. Toutes les divinités que vous voyez dans la Bible sont des divinités africaines. Ce sont des divinités que les anciens utilisaient dans les cultes vaudous. On les a blanchis, ils font la même chose, mais vous ne voyez pas que c'est la même divinité parce qu'on ne connaît pas suffisamment nos fondements. Quand on a fait le rituel initiatique, on comprend des choses. Il faut se préparer pour aller faire le rituel. Il faut jeûner. Quand vous allez à la messe, il n'y a pas de préparation, il n'y a pas de jeûne. On peut aller danser dans une boîte de nuit et aller à la messe le dimanche matin. Vous ne voyez pas qu'il y a un problème? C'est antinomique par rapport à nos traditions. Nous, on a une tradition, on n'a pas de religion. Il faut être fidèle à nos traditions parce que c'est l'héritage de nos pères. Et cet héritage de nos pères, c'est le sang qui coule dans nos veines. On peut acheter à boire et à manger, mais il n'y a pas de magasin où on vend du sang. Ce sang-là vient de très loin. Nous devons être fiers. Nous devons avoir notre colonne vertébrale et faire en sorte de ne jamais oublier qu'une pyramide, on dit qu'on a construit des pyramides, mais une pyramide, c'est des blocs de pierre qu'on a assemblés au même endroit. Chaque fois que nous sommes unis, nous sommes une pyramide. Vous voulez que nous soyons une pyramide? Soyons unis et nous serons une pyramide. Il faut faire deux choses. Il faut une reconquête économique. Parce qu'on a cédé trop de terrain sur l'économie. Les boissons dans les magasins sont pratiquement 99% des boissons étrangères. Les jeunes sont là oisifs. Les jeunes doivent pouvoir fabriquer leurs propres boissons. Et il faut faire des jus de plantes. Arrêtez de penser en jus de fruits. Parce que ces exploitations sont trop colossales. Avec les jus de feuilles, les jus de plantes, on peut faire d'excellents jus. Regardez le bissap, regardez le mojito, tout ça. Il y a beaucoup d'autres jus de plantes à inventer. Et les jeunes peuvent le faire. On n'a pas besoin de grand espace pour mettre une boisson à base de plantes. Ça, ce sont des choses importantes. Et la renaissance, c'est de ne pas oublier que la matrice humaine de la connaissance, elle est africaine. Et que quand on ne sait pas, on va chercher. On vous dit oui, on a inventé la semaine de 10 jours, mais la semaine de 7 jours, c'est pas nous. Je vous ai démontré que la semaine de 7 jours est arrimée aux 7 planètes, qui sont arrimées aux 7 notes de musique. Parce que l'Africain, quand il a découvert ça, il a découvert un ensemble de choses. C'est ça qu'on appelle le génie africain, que les gens célèbrent dans notre dos. D'accord? Pourquoi la situation est comme celle-là? Parce que la chose qui se passe, c'est que Dieu a donné aux Africains toutes les richesses de la planète, les autres n'ont que des miettes. Et quand ils sont parmi nous, c'est pour nous braquer, nous raconter des sornettes. Dieu serait pas bon avec nous, on aurait des divinités du diable et on aurait tout l'or, le pétrole, le coltan, tout ce qu'ils viennent chercher, tout ce qu'ils ont besoin comme énergie pour fonctionner, c'est nous qui l'aurions et Dieu ne nous aurait pas parlé, il serait pas bon avec nous et nos divinités seraient des mauvaises divinités. Mais vous voyez pas qu'il y a un problème? Le gars sort avec son église, il vient te dire que ce que tu fais, c'est pas bien, mais en attendant, ce que tu as chez toi, il l'a pas chez lui. Et s'il est chez toi, c'est parce qu'il a pas ça chez lui, il est venu prendre ce que Dieu lui a pas donné. Après, il te dit, Dieu est bon. Dieu n'est pas bon avec tout le monde, manifestement, puisque lui, il a rien. Vous voyez, son sous-sol est vide. Donc, à partir de là, qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Il utilise la force pour voler ce que Dieu a donné aux Africains. C'est-à-dire que, vous savez, mon peuple a un genou au sol. Parce que on lui a donné tout simplement une lunette qui lui permet pas de voir clair. Il faut déjà voir clair en soi avant de voir clair. Quand tu vois plus clair en toi, c'est fini. Donc, la relève de l'Afrique passe par la relève des individus. N'oubliez pas que dans le dos, il y a ça, la colonne vertébrale. La colonne vertébrale, c'est pas simplement pour tenir le corps. Il y a une colonne vertébrale pour tenir le mental aussi. Et si on n'a pas de colonne vertébrale mentale, on ne sera jamais debout. On sera manipulable et manipulé par l'extérieur. En Motunde, c'est simplement parce qu'à 14 ans, j'ai demandé à mes enseignants quand est-ce qu'on va nous permettre d'apprendre l'histoire de l'Afrique. Arrivé au bac, j'ai vu qu'il n'y avait pas de projet d'apprentissage de rien sur l'Afrique. Moi, quand je suis parti faire mes études, je suis allé voir un vieux, je lui ai dit comment on appelle chez toi un jeune qu'on a voulu faire partir loin de ses ancêtres et qui a dit laissez-moi tranquille, je reviens vers mes ancêtres. Il m'a dit dans ma langue Yoruba, ça se dit Omotunde. Donc j'ai dit Omotunde. Après, le mouvement diopien a dit que quand les choses vont mal, il y a un individu auquel le roi fait appel pour expertiser le problème et trouver une solution. Cet individu s'appelle le Kalala. Tu es le Kalala du peuple noir. C'est pour ça que c'est Omotunde Kalala.
Golfe TV Africa, c'est toutes les voix, tous les points de vue, toutes les opinions, tous les avis et une vue d'ensemble de toute l'actualité au Bénin, en Afrique et dans le monde. Le groupe de presse, la Gazette du Golfe, au plus près de l'événement 7 jours sur 7 et 24 heures sur 24. C'est aussi et surtout avec vous. Alerte Golfe Média, vous êtes au cœur d'une affaire et d'un événement.